Good afternoon everyone, and in this video I'm going to go over a missed trade from this week because I know people like to see strategy and the analysis, and then I'm going to look into the week ahead and show my analysis and what I'm thinking so far for that. So stick around if you're interested. Right, I'm going to start us here on the M15 chart just so we can jump straight into the price action of this missed trade. Just to re-go over the analysis for this and to show you my strategy, you're going to see here we swept or mitigated these previous day lows, which is sell side liquidity, and on the previous day we also filled this daily fair value gap. Okay, overnight we created this sell side liquidity trend line and broke down further, taking out the previous daily low, going into this 4-hour order block you see here in the purple, and we had a break of structure there with the BOS, right? So this is on the M15 chart. This is the trade I missed. I would have targeted just about to the top of Asia. And just so we're aware of the negatives, of course, this would have been against trend, right? Analyzing the 15-minute chart, we had a 15-minute order block, a 15-minute break of structure, and we are in discount of this much larger leg, right? We are in discount of that leg, which is great for buyers. We have our higher time frame confluences where the sell side liquidity is being taken, so it's reasonable to assume we're going to have a pullback, especially after we had that big massive bearish move previous day. So all of this on the high time frame would most likely want to be filled, right? This is all a draw on price and liquidity. So those are some of the positive confluences. And now here's another couple negatives that we had to consider. We have this 1-hour order block here, which is where I would have taken profit as well. Because of that negative, because we are against trend, because it is a 1-hour order block, I allow my management to, manage the risk. Of course, price could have rejected this, but I would have been risk off by then. So you let your management decide that. We had the same negative on the DXY down here, right, during that trend, but also DXY swept its buy side liquidity, and we are in a deep premium after filling, weekly fair value gaps on the previous day. So let's go down to the 5-minute and I'll show you why I missed this trade. As you may have noticed on the 15-minute chart, there was a big bearish 15-minute candle, right? So we didn't get the corrective pullback I would have liked on the 15-minute candle to have executed, right? So the 15-minute candle is here. I'll just draw that out. So the 15-minute candle got entered on, but it pulled back, within that 15 minutes. I wanted it to be a bit slower, a bit more corrective. So I was going to use the 5-minute candle, the last 5-minute candle, to allow for price to leave this inducement here, pull up and pull back down before joining this, right? Before joining this run. Of course, it would have increased the profit. I probably wouldn't have targeted that 6% because I could have just taken profit much earlier. But anyway, so we had the 5-minute breaker structure as well, 5-minute order block and fair value gap, and we had the 15-minute order block with a small fair value gap as well, after sweeping sell side liquidity and buy side liquidity on DXY while we are in a discount. So I hope that all makes sense. That's my strategy. Sweep of sell side liquidity and a POI, a break of structure on the 5 and 15-minute, and then we've pulled back to the order block. So you can see here I missed the entry by 1 pip, right? So 1 pip missed the entry because price obviously mitigated the M15 and went on its way. And the reasons why I say this is a missed trade for me is because I also enter off M15, right? So if it wasn't for this big bearish candle pulling back, which for me kind of makes it non-corrective, and we had this sell side liquidity resting here below as a negative as well, I thought, right, there's too much momentum in this, price may come and sweep us before making that move. I thought on the 5-minute would be the best place to take this entry. If we get a high probability entry with inducement, right? So if we left that inducement, pulled back, looked more corrective, that would have been much better for me. That's the missed trade. I hope you understand my strategy and my analysis and what I was looking for there. Now let's continue and look at the week ahead and see what we can see coming up for, Monday, Tuesday. I'm not going to try and predict the entire week, of course, but just where we are in price action. So let's start off here on the monthly, which I don't usually show you in my videos, but as it's a new week beginning, let's do that. You can see this month so far has pretty much filled. I think there's only maybe a couple pips or less than a pip to fill this monthly fair value gap. So it's basically mitigated on EU. We do have further imbalance down here, and price is currently still successfully being held by this monthly fair value gap up here, right? Price has spiked through it. However, it's failed to break above. So it may indicate that further price to go lower. Also, if we look down here just briefly on DXY, we can see that the monthly fair value gap isn't filled. So there may actually be further room to push to the upside, meaning weakness on EU, right? On the weekly chart here, you see I've marked out this current previous weekly high, previous weekly low, because obviously going into next week, it's going to be the previous weekly high and low. We swept below this previous low here. We're in a weekly order block again, you could say. There's no imbalances below until down here, like on the monthly. Price had previously rejected this weekly fair value gap and made a bearish move, right? And we've closed out sort of this low test wick doji. And on DXY just below, you can see we filled a weekly fair value gap and spiked into a weekly order block. So could you see that as, possible bearish pressure going forward on DXY? Maybe. I don't spend too long on those charts because we are day traders. I don't consider what we're going to do over the long time frame so much. Don't have to sit on those time frames, but it's good to be aware of these things. I've marked out previous daily high, previous daily low, right, for going into next week, and we can see the previous weekly high, previous weekly low. Price clearly had a bullish reaction from this daily fair value gap fill. Price tried to reach down, right? This is what the daily is telling us now. Price attempted, right, again to continue with that bearish order flow, but it closed above the open. Okay, so it is still showing, at least in the daily closures, some bullish intent. Same with DXY here below. You can see we filled that. It attempted to carry on its bullish trend, but ended up closing below price anyway. We're on the 4 hour. I do like reading the 4 hour because usually it smooths things out and you can see the trend a lot easier. You can see, we had this lower low, lower high, lower low. We've now pulled back into a premium of this leg here. We are in premium price right now, and you can see on DXY we've pulled back also, and we're in this 4 hour order block. Now in recent price action, you can see we filled the 4 hour fair value gap and then had a massive bullish reaction from there, closing off the day above the previous day, which gave us that lovely low test closure on the daily. So now we are still in a bearish trend. Price hasn't gone and made a new higher high on the 4 hour yet. However, we need to be aware we have an unmitigated POI here, right? Price tends to fill those. We don't know when, but it's unlikely that price is going to leave this here forever. And we have taken some major sell side liquidity on the higher time frame. Of course, for the moment, price is stalling, right? We have the order block here on DXY, and we have, on the lower time frames here, you'll see there's 1 hour POIs and whatnot. DXY has this same unmitigated POI below here in price, as you can see. So again, there's more attraction for DXY to keep going down. However, we may respect this, which means EU will also respect this area. So let's go down to the hourly and look at some more intraday price action. So here we are on the hourly. We have swept some previous highs. We haven't made a new low. So the hourly, at least internally, right, we're still working within this leg, at least internally has turned bullish. We've got another high low here and a higher high spiked above, but we have taken some buy side liquidity. So I think into Monday, just by looking at these higher time frames, we could see a bearish pullback internally on EU, right? We have this 1 hour fair value gap that was partially mitigated between here, I think it's sensible to think, okay, if price creates some sort of structural high here, let's call this like an internal pullback, right? So if this is an internal bullish leg, this is now discount. So price has swept buy side liquidity, which may cause it to seek out sell side liquidity imbalances and head higher if price is going to continue bullish. However, if price is going to continue bearish, right, from this area, because we've got these 1 hour order block on DXY as well, then price is still going to want to head in this direction, whether it rejects this or not. If DXY wants to continue its trend bullish, we're going to have price break down here, okay? So from this premium. So either way, we're in a premium, which is great for sells. It may only be temporary down to this fair value gap, and price may actually switch trend and break for new higher highs on the 4 hour and 1 hour externally. But at least in the immediate future, we may be able to get some sells from this area. So I've got this note here. This is for yourselves and myself. Just to remember, you don't need to know the point at which price will turn beforehand. Let price mitigate and switch on the lower time frame. So we've mitigated some buy side liquidity here. Same with any POIs, like down here, if we don't get to sell into this and we come into this 1 hour fair value gap and we want to go long, we just need to allow for price. Let's go down to the M15. Just allow for price to show you the direction it wants to go. So I didn't want to come down to the M15 because that's my, execution type timeframes. But this is where you want to see those breaks of structure. At the moment, we're still going bullish, right? But if we do get price, fail to make a higher high here, and then it breaks down, yes, we look for that pullback here, and then we trade it down to here, if that's where you want to trade it to. Or to continue all the way with its trend down to here or beyond, right? And it's the same once we get to this area. All we need to do is wait for price to do something. It may do something like this and then turn around and then come back, and then we can trade it up to this first buy side liquidity here or buy side liquidity here if it's still remaining, if price doesn't do this, right? Do you see what I mean? This is my strategy, this is my analysis. We reach these POIs, we take this buy side liquidity and then let price change, let price create a structure and shift, and then we get in on the move. And if we don't get in on the move, we just wait for it to happen again. Like down here, we wait for price to create structure at a POI, which makes sense, which is following a trend or against trend, but has taken liquidity, and follow it to the next move. I've also made a note here of spicy news on Thursday. So this is something to be, aware of on Thursday. I don't think I'll be able to trade all day. Let's have a look at that news. Now look at this, Thursday from 8:15 up until 3 p.m. there's news announcements like throughout the day. You may not get time to execute, may not get time for the trade to play out before any trades. It's just PMI. It's like global PMI basically for US dollar and euro. And yeah, it's something to be careful of. Don't think Thursday is going to be tradable, and Monday's a bank holiday. So we'll see. Monday afternoon may be dead. Usually Monday, London is dead. So it may just be a dead day. Tuesday we're free. Wednesday we're free. So I hope you gained a lot of value from that video. I'll be seeing you tomorrow for my intraday analysis. And remember to like and subscribe.